Okay, so what we're doing today with this video is meant to inspire, it's meant to provoke thought, but what really is gonna happen is people are gonna be pissed off. Roll the intro music.
Don't believe the lies, deceit. I can be.
I'm trying not to go super political with all these videos, so every 4 or 5 videos I'll drop another one, and this is that time. So I wanted us to sit back and check out some more Jordan Peterson. This is a video that I had to look up the meaning of the title right whenever I read it, because I didn't know what the hell was going on. This is Jordan Peterson calls out the pseudo-moralistic stances of activists. So if you're anything like me, you're like, what the hell is a pseudo-moralistic stance? Well, I got you. The general idea behind pseudo-moralism is this. One adopts a moral stance that they do not actually believe in, or put simply, they adopt false morals. In my mind, I hope that it's gonna be something like he's not telling people what to believe, but he's like, based on what you said, it doesn't even make sense what you're claiming. I absolutely love how stoic Jordan Peterson is, so much so that I've started to take classes about stoicism. Something that, like, argumentatively, I just eat up. It's just fantastic. Which is a perfect segue because, guys, this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Now, Skillshare is this big-ass online community where you can learn real-life skills taught by real people that do this every day in their profession. Now, I get a ton of questions from you guys. Mostly, why is your face so damn punchable? But also, I get a bunch of questions asking how do I edit my videos, what equipment do I use, what guitar lessons I take whenever I do take them, how to learn animation, how to learn how to be magnetic, just about any question you could ever imagine I've been asked. Well, Skillshare is the place that you want to go. Now, one of the badass things about Skillshare is how the classes are structured in a way that you can advance as quickly or as slowly as you want. That's up to you. You don't have to commit to some bullshit 3-hour class for 3 days a week or anything like that. What you learn and how you learn is completely up to you. Like the Stoicism Masterclass that I've been checking out, which is called How to Be Happier by Ali Abdaal. So whether I want to learn that, or I want to take a bass guitar lessons class by Mark Barnacle, or I want to learn something about creative songwriting by Eve Horn. Because honestly, whenever I tried to write a song once, I was lost as Columbus. Now get this, everybody that signs up using my link that's down below gets 1 month of unlimited access for free. And it's not just creative stuff, okay? They got a ton of different classes. Whether it's business classes, finance classes, self-improvement classes, stoicism classes, whatever you could want, they have. So if you're ready to start learning that skill you've always wanted to but just haven't pulled the trigger yet, now is the time. And the first 1,000 of my viewers to sign up using my code AlexHefner or the link in my description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare so you can start exploring your creativity today. Now back to the reaction.
I don't know, what is your answer to young people for some of the really big problems facing humanity, like the climate catastrophe, like economic crisis, like the precarious job market? Because I just don't, like, you talk all this much about individual responsibility. Most of us are never going to be able to afford to have all of these assets to have responsibility over. So what is your advice beyond banal comments like clean your room?
So she wants actual advice. Like that's fair. Very fair request. Being like, hey, what's something tangible that we can take home and actually make our lives better? Which is a fair question, but she like threw a gut punch in there, like banal comments, right? So it's like you can't. It's kind of rude. Like just kind of lacks common courtesy. She's already showing that like, hey, I disapprove of what you say, but also give me some answers, which is kind of an interesting approach.
Well, it's actually rather difficult to answer a question that ends with your comments are banal, politely.
I mean, that's facts, man. Like,
so I would consider that more of an opinionated, personal, and political statement than actually a question. So why don't you try reformulating that so that there's an actual question there?
What is your
Stoicism, man, like he's very calm, and a lot of people would automatically go on the defensive, and he's saying, hey, like the way that you just did that is kind of projecting your disapproval of my views, so rephrase your fucking question. I like it.
So what is your advice to young people when you talk about you need to be individually responsible, but when there are things that are so far out of our control, like climate catastrophe, like the precarious job economy, like the
They're not as
economic
far
crisis,
out of your control as you think.
What is your answer?
You think that you're worse off than your grandparents?
I think there are different challenges.
Do you think you're worse off than your grandparents?
I think that
Jordan, once again, we're not going to cross-examine our questioners. So try answering the question about collective responsibility on climate change, for example. Pick one part of that.
That's so interesting because that's the art form of argument, right? So he's asking questions to provoke answers on her part that would, in a roundabout sense, answer her own question. So that's kind of, as a clinical psychologist, I feel like that's what he's best at, is putting people in the position to almost answer the questions for themselves. Interesting how he takes that approach. I really do like that.
Because the argument, I think, is that individual responsibility does not change the climate, does not fix the problem that needs global collective responsibility.
Okay.
So I think that's the core of the question. Do you have a theory about that?
Well, fundamentally, I'm a psychologist, and my experience has been that people can do a tremendous amount of good for themselves and for the people who are immediately around them by looking to their own inadequacies and their own flaws and the things that they're not doing in their lives.
Start with the man in the mirror.
Themselves up as more powerful individuals, and if they're capable of doing that, and then they're capable of expanding their career. And if they're capable of expanding their career and their competence, then they're capable of taking their place in the community as effective leaders. And then they're capable of making wise decisions instead of unwise decisions when it comes to making collective political decisions. I'm not suggesting in the least, and have never suggested, that there's no domain for social action. I'm suggesting that people who don't have their own houses in order should be very careful before they go about reorganizing the world, which happens in many ways.
She disagrees hard. It's the natural progression, though, in my mind. That makes total sense. Hey, how are you going? And there's a bit of a gray area, but his general comment is, how can you go ahead and change the world if you can't even keep your house in order? Let's get baby steps. Let's work on you. Let's work on your family unit. Let's work on your house. Once you do that, let's become a good, upstanding citizen in society, right? And from there, you can kind of put yourself in the best position to change the world. I can see why maybe she would disagree with that, because, you know, you can probably change the world without having your house in order and stuff, but let's see where it goes, man. She didn't like that answer.
If a young person believes that the climate, the global warming problem on the climate is something that needs to be tackled quickly, and they can't wait until they grow up and become prime ministers to do it, do you think collective responsibility overrides individual responsibility in a huge issue?
Good question.
No.
Okay.
I don't. Okay. I think generally people have things that are more within their personal purview that are more difficult to deal with and that they're avoiding, and that generally the way they avoid them is by adopting pseudo-moralistic stances on
there we go.
large-scale social issues so that they look good to their friends and their neighbors.
She's taking that personally, man, and I don't think that it's a direct attack on her. I think that he's speaking about society at large. Okay, so that's it. One thing that I really like about Jordan Peterson is his matter-of-factness, right? And he has a tremendous ability to absorb as much information as possible and then spit out concise answers, right? And some people, you can ask them, what's the weather like? And they'll give you this long 30-minute presentation about everything included, and it's like, dude, what? And Jordan Peterson's the opposite, being able to absorb a ton of information. Someone lays out all of their problems and all of their thoughts and intuitions, and then you spit out a calculated, precise answer. People typically relate really well to that because there's not much ambiguity. There's a clear-cut, concise way to understand that. Whether you believe with Jordan Peterson or not, him saying that individual action is better than collective action in the sense you have to put your own mask on before you can help those around you in the airplane scenario, that example, right? But nonetheless, from an argument perspective, it is so interesting to just dive into these videos and really absorb it, man. I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I hope you guys are too. God damn it, Elon's stealing my thunder. I just want to say thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to check out this video. So with that being said, keep smiling, keep being yourself. Don't let anybody throw shade at you. I will see you tomorrow. That's a motherfucking fact, though. Yeah, love y'all. Peace.
Don't believe the lies, deceit.